corners of my mind, along the corridors of time, I see reflections in time. As I stare into the mirror now, the past before comes clear. I see reflections in time.
For the past few years, Americans have been deluged with an ongoing nostalgia craze. The 50s and 60s have been communicated to us in virtually every medium available. Other eras have also gained the public's attention throughout the decades, eras reflecting a slower pace, a time of craftsmanship far removed from the world of which we are now a part. Reflections in Time will take you on a journey back in time, a time many of you may well remember, a time when a product had to be produced to absolute perfection before it could earn a fair market price. In the spring of 1886, a pharmacist from Atlanta, Georgia, began mixing a formula which would eventually become known as Coca-Cola. John Stith Pemberton, the inventor of the formula, while mixing in a three-legged kettle in his backyard, of course had no way of knowing that this new syrup would one day become a worldwide household name. He could also not envision what the eventual trade name, printed on just about everything imaginable, could bring to American collectors today. When the syrup had finally been perfected, Dr. Pemberton bottled it into a jug, then paid a visit to Willis E. Venable, soda fountain manager at Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta. A deal was struck, and this unnamed syrup, mixed with water, began to sell for 5 cents a glass. A name for this new drink was needed. Frank Mason Robinson, a bookkeeper at the Pemberton Chemical Company, suggested Coca-Cola syrup and extract. Pemberton liked the name. He also liked Robinson's idea to write the name in the popular script Spencerian, then, after minor modifications, adopted the name Coca-Cola. For the next few years, nothing much would disturb this sleeping giant. On August 16, 1888, at 55, John Stith Pemberton passed away in his sleep. Failing health had forced John Pemberton to sell shares in his Coca-Cola syrup to various Atlanta business associates, the most recognizable being Asa Griggs Candler. In fact, just 14 days after Pemberton's death, Candler purchased the remaining 1/3 of Coca-Cola for $1,000 from Woolfolk Walker and his sister, Mrs. M.C. Dozier. This gave Asa Candler control of Coca-Cola. Now, armed with John Stith Pemberton's dream, Asa Candler set out to create one of the largest corporations the world has ever known. Here at the Schmidt bottling plant located in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, there is housed the largest collection of Coca-Cola memorabilia in the world. The museum traces Coca-Cola from John Pemberton, Asa Candler, and the many people who have played a part in this fascinating tale of American advertising and folk art.
One of the first items here we're looking at is a Baird clock. These items date from the 1892 period through 1899 and were some of the first advertising pieces used after Candler had complete control of the company. You'll notice the strong advertising references to ideal brain tonic, specific for headaches, relieves exhaustion. All the things were very oriented towards elixirs and specifics during that period of time. These clocks are very valuable, and collectors all over the country strive to have one of these in their collection. This is a hand fan that dates from 1896. This is also showing the brain tonic advertising, specific for mental and physical exhaustion, relieves headaches. This fan is very rare, the only known example of this fan to exist. The girl artwork on this is one of the first artworks that was used on a number of different items. This girl was used on the 1896 calendar, a large paper sign that we're aware of, small celluloid bookmark, and a couple of other items, all very scarce items from 1896. This is a ceramic syrup dispenser. This was used in the 1890s to dispense the syrup into a glass with ice to be added with the carbonated water to make the drink. During the 1890s, Coca-Cola still was not being bottled. It was just a soda fountain drink. These are a very highly sought after item by collectors today, and this particular example you're looking at is a very nice example that still has the spigot on it. and has the top, which is not common to most of these pieces that survived. These are syrup jars or bottles, and these were used in the fountains also, mainly by fountains that didn't have the volume that would have used a ceramic dispenser. These again were used in the 1895 period, probably even earlier than that, up through as late as 1920 we know. These are all very scarce. Some of these labels are just paper labels, some are paper with glass over them, some of them are enameled onto the bottle. These bottles are very scarce today. This is probably one of the best selections of bottles in existence in any collection. Some of the first bottles to carry Coca-Cola are what we call the Hutchison stopper bottles. They have the bulb top with the rubber and wire stopper on them. This is where the name pop bottle came from, because when the stoppers were released, you would hear a pop. These bottles are very scarce and were only used by some of the very earliest bottlers, and not all of them at that point. But from about 1899 through 1903, these bottles were used. There are about 20 different bottlers that use these bottles to our knowledge. These bottles are very rare today and will sell anywhere from $500 up in very nice condition. Here's a little leather-covered notebook from about 1903 or 4. These were some of the giveaway items of the early 1900s. This particular notebook shows bottlers' sales in different cities for comparison and all. Some of the other items here are change purse and some billfolds and some match holders, again given away during about the 1903 to 1912 period of time. This is an 1897 calendar. Calendars for Coca-Cola in the 1890s are very scarce. We know of examples as early as 1891, 92. This particular one shows a girl at the table with a coupon on the table for a free Coke. This is an 1898 calendar, again a very scarce calendar. We know of 2 or 3 different examples of this calendar. This particular one has some damage at the top left, but still a very valuable piece. Here's another example of the 1898 calendar, in better shape than the last one, but you will notice a little different. Another thing we might point out is the artwork of the girl again was used on posters and celluloid bookmarks and other items of this year. Coca-Cola chewing gum is one of the products that Coca-Cola gave their approval to another company to make with their trademark on it. We're looking at a very rare 1903 poster of Hilda Clark with the gum advertising for the Coca-Cola Chewing Gum Company of Atlanta. Coca-Cola gum was first produced by the Coca-Cola Gum Company of Atlanta, and later it was bought by Franklin Manufacturing Company of Richmond, Virginia, later become Franklin Carroll Company of Richmond, Virginia. This gum was produced over a period of years from 1903 through about 1924. We're looking at some wrappers of the gum. Some of these wrappers sell for $200 to $300 a piece. This is a box that would have held 20 packages of gum and to be used as a counter display to sell the gum in. This Coca-Cola wooden box here is key to good digestion. It was a box that was used to ship glass jars full of the chewing gum into different retailers and dealers throughout the country. This glass jar is the jar we were talking about, would have held 100 packages of chewing gum and would have been a counter display item at the point of purchase of the chewing gum. This is some Coca-Cola sheet music from 1906. This pictures a girl that is commonly referred to as Juanita. This is the first known tray of Coca-Cola, an 1897 tray. Very valuable tray, only 2 of them known to exist at this point in time. Here are 3 leather-covered boudoir clocks that date from the early part of this century, probably around 1905 to 1910. Also pictured here are some dice with advertising for Coca-Cola on them. Pictured here are some seltzer bottles from the early part of the century. A lot of the bottlers, in addition to bottling the Coca-Cola, also put out a line of seltzer water. Here is a leaded glass display bottle from about the 1920s. This is a very scarce item. There's only about 7 or 8 of these known to exist. Christmas has been a very important part of Coca-Cola's advertising. Most of the artifacts pictured in this display here date from the late 20s up through the 50s and 60s. Hayden Sundblom was hired by Coca-Cola Company in 1931 to come up with a Santa advertisement, which he came up with yearly for about 30 years. This Coca-Cola Santa Claus has probably been more important as far as what we actually visualize Santa Claus as today through the advertising that Coca-Cola put out. Toys have always been an important item that Coca-Cola has advertised on, getting the point of Coca-Cola over to the children. Pictured here are some tin Coca-Cola trucks from the 1940s. This is a Smitty Toys truck from the 1940s with Coca-Cola advertising on it like the others. Here is a 1914 calendar. This is the girl we call Betty, and her name is also on this calendar. One of the very few pieces of Coca-Cola art that has a name on it. Pictured here are some ink blotters. Coca-Cola first put advertising on ink blotters in about 1904 and continued to put out blotters almost on a yearly basis up through 1960. A Coca-Cola cooler from the late 30s, one of the first ones to have a coin operated operation with the cooler. This is a button sign. This one pictures a Sprite Boy. This is also Hayden Sundblom art that was used in the promotion of the word C-O-K-E or Coke with meaning the same as the word Coca-Cola. This was first introduced in 1942. This is a cardboard cutout of Jean Harlow. She was a movie star from the early 30s, under contract with Howard Hughes at the time. A number of Coca-Cola advertising pieces have her art depicted on them. They're all very scarce and very rare. This is a 1930 calendar for Coca-Cola, one of 4 calendars that Norman Rockwell did for Coca-Cola. This is a 1941 Coca-Cola cone-top metal can. This piece is very, very rare. Possibly this was just a prototype and was never used. They may have been used, but we only know of about 3 examples of this can. Coca-Cola cooler radio from about 1948. This is a particularly rare version of that radio, and the fact that it has a clock on it also.
No one can actually say when the first doll may actually have been created. Our fascination with the human likeness is probably as old as time itself. Dolls, just like the people they represent, can take on virtually every size and shape one can imagine. Back during the 1984 Christmas season, the Cabbage Patch doll was virtually impossible to obtain from local retailers. Other dolls have captured our imagination throughout the decades, while others are just beginning.
Hi, these are the Neighbor Kids made in Homosassa, Florida. By Harold Neighbor. He hand carves the original and makes the mold. He started in 1984 with his first doll, Molly. The next doll would be Max. And then we have Ashley. Oh, I forgot Jake in there. He was the number 2 doll. After Ashley, Millie, and Maurice. These dolls are made from a mold, and he makes them for 1,001 days because of the Arabian Nights. He then breaks the mold and they start going up in value. His first little doll, Molly, is now selling at $1,500. Jake is at $1,000, Max is at $800, so you can see they go up quite quickly. He has several dolls in his collection and has just introduced 2 Negro dolls, Sammy and Samantha. He dresses them in all different costumes designed by his wife. There are some special editions such as the Bride and Groom. They do cost more money, and also the Cyclist.
Elise Bridesmaid is here with her wonderful portrait hat, her fabulous dress, and her flowers. She's no longer made, but has been a wonderful doll for many, many years for our collectors. The beautiful doll beside her in the red and gold is Mary, Queen of Scots, the beautiful 21-inch portrait. Madame Alexander has made many dolls from history and from paintings and from storybooks and from countries that we can all relate to. And the last one here is Madame Alexander herself in the beautiful blue silk dress with the silver sequins. Here are the beautiful Madame Alexander baby dolls. There are many, many that the company makes, but here we have a few that are very collectible. Left to right, we have Sweet Baby, Pussycat, and Victoria. And then in the back on the little swing are the two baby Huggums. One has hair, and she's dressed in a beautiful little dress, and the one on the right has no hair and dressed in pajamas for sleeping. This is the World Child series that Annette Hempstead did for the year 1989. These dolls are 30 inches in height and were also sculpted from real children in Germany, and they are truly the world's children. We have the Oriental boy, we have the Oriental girl, and the beautiful blonde German girl. We believe she really looks like Annette Hempstead. Our babies shown here, Pumpkin Girl and Pumpkin Boy, are by the Legacy Doll Company. They're not only purchased for our lady and gentleman doll collectors, but by children as well. They're soft vinyl and very, very poseable. This is Selena by Judith Turner in an edition of 450. She's 30 inches tall, and she was hand sculpted by Judy Turner, of very fine porcelain. She has real human hair, handmade clothing, and she carries a bouquet of silk flowers. She has bare feet, and she wears little leather sandals. These are wonderful, all porcelain dolls by the Wendy Lawton Company. Wendy Lawton is one of the finest artists in America. All of her dolls are made right here and are beautifully, beautifully done. We have Elizabeth and Baby, Edward and Dobbin, and for a guild member this year we have Baba Black Sheep, and then we have Amber, first in the seasons, with her little leather book satchel. And then we have the beautiful She Walks in Beauty with the beautiful bridal gown and roses. And then of course we have Victoria and Teddy, the little Victorian baby. There are many in her collection, such as Marcella and Raggedy Ann, the Little Princess, and others. But here are just a few of her fine, fine work. Here we have hand-carved wooden dolls. They're all totally hand-carved by artisans. Some are from Germany, some are from Italy, and the little girl on the rocking horse is made right here in America. They all have real hair or carved hair, but they're very, very collectible. Everybody should have at least one fabulous hand-carved wooden doll in their collection. We have a collection here of Gorham dolls. The little girl with the birds in her hat is Krista and her bear Jingles. And then we have a Christmas doll from 1987. Her name is Joy. The beautiful little girl with the auburn hair is a doll that's made in Germany, and it's Karen Heller's Goose Girl. She's all cloth, totally hand done with real human hair. Hand embroidered smock and leather shoes. This is a variety of dolls. Megan is by the Collectibles, and she's in porcelain. She is a beautiful bride. Then we have Wendy's Lady Gwendolyn by Edna Hibble, a doll that is no longer made, but it was in a series. Then we have Molly, the beautiful girl in the Victorian lace that was produced by Celia's Dolls in the year of 1988. And then we have little Prudence by Inesco, the beautiful little Victorian cat. The beautiful porcelain figurines that you see here are by Maud Humphrey Bogart, the mother of Humphrey Bogart. They are limited edition, very collectible, and they're all dressed in the beautiful Victorian dresses that you see. Here we have another beautiful German doll by Hildegard Gunzel. This little girl is life-size, and her name is Muriel. She won the award this year as one of the best dolls of the year for 1989. Barbie has become one of the biggest collectibles this year. We have hundreds of thousands of more collectors adding and beginning with their Barbies. This is the Dance Club Barbie. She comes with a cassette, and obviously you could dance with her. Also in this series is the Dance Club Ken, the Dance Club Devon, and Kayla. Is a set of 4. We have also the Barbie dolls from different department stores. We have Walmart Barbies, we have the Sears Barbies, and of course the beautiful, beautiful Christmas Barbie. There are real special ones, like the Billy Boy Barbie. Billy Boy is from Paris, France. He has 11,000 in his collection, and they go on tour all over the world. This particular Barbie is his very first. There were only 500 ever made. She has the black nail polish. And of course, they're all signed. They came with beautiful exhibition catalogs and a brooch that was made by the Billy Boy Toy Company. We have very few left, and they will really escalate very quickly. But we'd like for you to see some of the Barbies that we have. Probably some of you have far more, but maybe there's some here that you don't have. We would like to show you the F&B dolls, the Legend series. We have Mae West, we have John Wayne, Louis Armstrong, Art Carney. We have John Wayne and the Cavalry, and of course we have Harry Truman, and we have Humphrey Bogart. And the most adorable this year in the limited edition by F&B is Spanky and Buckwheat from the Little Rascals. They are really beautiful. Here we have some beautiful reproduction dolls. Although they are reproductions of the old French Jumeaux and ATs, they are still dressed in authentic antique fabrics, silk with silk ribbons and roses that we don't have today. The lace on these particular dolls could be 100 years old. They all have either human hair or mohair, and they have English crystal paperweight eyes. We have a lot of collectors that do collect them because of their fine beauty.
Christmas is enjoyed the world over by millions of people each year. Our fascination with ornaments and other Christmas decorative items dates back to at least the late 18th century. Famed artists, writers, and musicians have worked tirelessly to preserve this most joyous season for families to enjoy. Some of the items are as simple as a child's drawing, while others are as complex as a hand-carved Santa Claus. However, they all represent one thing: Christmas.
Santa Claus and his sleigh. The sleigh is mid-19th century American handmade papier-mâché by some outstanding craftsman of the period for a child or grandchild. The classic lines make it a rare and difficult find for this type of sleigh today. Here is a life-size Father Christmas with papier-mâché face. Behind him, a post-Civil War American sleigh, probably from the Northeast. Again, a 100-year-old handmade item filled with toys for Christmas. The background depicts a cold winter day, and as dawn starts to break, he is finishing his rounds, reflecting the joy and happiness throughout the world. Here is one of the most interesting animated pieces that can be seen. It's a 42-inch diameter Christmas ornament, admittedly a little heavy for most people's trees. It opens up with ports on 3 sides, has a Santa Claus and his sleigh circling a snow-covered community. In the background, you can see skiers coming down a slope. On the left, skaters skim on a pond illuminated by street lights. And over in the lower right-hand corner is a horse-drawn sleigh surrounding a farmhouse. The Red Room features traditional colors and Santa Clauses in varying designs. Many creative designers are producing some very unique and interesting pieces for today's collectors, as well as people only interested in the seasonal decorating. These are extremely collectible, making a collection that will be hard to find due to rapid design changes. Here we have a series of Dickens villages originating in 1984. They're particularly charming because they detail the old English cottages. These have been retired and are selling for many times over the original cost, which was approximately $40. Today there's a large demand from collectors who are trying to complete their collections. The detail of craftsmanship is excellent. Colors are vivid. There are many accessory pieces that set off the scenes which depict phases of life and occupations around the villages. Children on sleds, sleighs, and ice skating. They're perfect for the mantel, table, or centerpieces. Each year, 1 or 2 items are retired, so they generate collector enthusiasm, making them an extremely good value. Collectors will enjoy these hand-painted porcelain pieces well into the 21st century. Another one of the very popular collectibles for Christmas is the nutcrackers and smokers from Germany. They have been in demand for over 40 years and are becoming more detailed, colorful, and mechanical each year. Featured now is a selection of angels and Santa Clauses which can be used as tree toppers, wreaths, and centerpieces. Some have lights, halos, candles, angels with moving arms and wings, all beautifully dressed and highly detailed. Featured here is a Civil War Santa Claus by Duncan Royal of California, one in a series of limited edition Santas, which have been very popular over the last 5 or 6 years. Collectors are finding that an investment of $125 is now worth over $2,500. This series of about 12 pieces is nearly sold out. Here is a representation of several hundred music boxes now available. They come in all sizes, shapes, and colors, all with Christmas songs. They're very detailed, hand-painted, and most are porcelain. Collectors find them highly collectible, and they can be passed down from generation to generation.
Here's a bit of trivia for you. Who is the world's largest popper of popcorn and has given away over 16 billion toys? Give up? Give you a hint.
The story of Cracker Jack Company begins in 1871 when a German immigrant by the name of F.W. Reckheim immigrated here to the United States to the Chicago area. He helped clear way after the big fire there in Chicago, and he started a small single popcorn stand. Later on, he picked up a Dutch candy-making partner. Both these men, with a single popcorn in a very small candy machine operation, then became the precursor of the Cracker Jack Company. It wasn't until about 3 years later that this product got a name. So the story goes is F.W. Reckheim was away on business, and his brother Louis was with one of their jobbers or one of their main salesmen, and they were eating some of this concoction, and he said, "Boy, that's a Cracker Jack." And so the new name was formed. So now the Cracker Jack product had a name. They then built their company around this product because it was very, very popular. They developed coupons that you could, at the beginning of the century, there was coupons that were in the package or outside the package. Baseball cards in 1914, 1915. They were fascinating in that this particular set also involved the American and National League, but also like the tobacco cards of that period, but they also featured the Federal League, which was a main attraction of this particular Cracker Jack prize in 1908. A song that is now a staple at almost any ballpark in the United States, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Jack North did the lyrics on it. That particular song featured "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," "Buy Me Some Peanuts," and "Cracker Jack." In the Cracker Jack Museum in Columbus, Ohio, has several different of these particular prizes and items that are one of a kind. The prizes in the early days, going back to that, were made of any type of medium you could think of. They were made of porcelain. There are some early Cracker Jack prizes, little dolls that are made of porcelain. There's little wooden ships and little wooden carts and items like that. Later on, they used pot metal in the early days. That's a form of low-grade type metal. They also, later on, as they perfected, and obviously they used paper throughout all this particular time, but they then used, in the 30s and late 20s, to a high degree of artistic know-how, the type of prize, a tin painted prize. And this particular prizes they used extensively, and they also used these particular prizes to tout their particular product, Cracker Jack. There's an early mirror that on the other side of the mirror you say, turn it over to see the Cracker Jack, and you turn it around and it's a mirror, which is a fascinating little thing. And there's several different variations of this. We get into the 30s, which I consider the golden era of Cracker Jack prizes. Here's where the Cracker Jack Company let everything out. Let it all hang out, as I say, and that they then went after anything that could be miniaturized and put in that box was. You find fascinating bits of Americana. There's coins of the presidents. We then get into the 40s, and here's where the prizes now reflect the world at war again, World War II. There's many nationalistic type prizes, prizes that reflect the military aspects of the time. Tanks, soldiers, planes, heroes of the war. Later on in the war, there was a interesting card set where very graphic, very gruesome, of the heroes of the war. In the late 40s, 1948 to be in fact, they developed injection molding of plastic. And here now Cracker Jack had a way of making hundreds, literally thousands of different designs of prizes. They no longer had to worry about, can we do it in wood or tin or paper or whatever. They would use plastic, and they did it to a great extent. They also enlarged their sets. The 60s prizes then now were showing a preoccupation with the space. In late 1940s into the 50s, There was a prize that was actually a overweight sea captain with a little pipe in his hand. Many people thought this resembled the Soviet Union's premier at the time, Joseph Stalin. And they were inundated with letters saying, "How dare you do this?" They immediately withdrew this prize, and this particular plastic prize is now very popular. One of the more expensive plastic prizes around. And actually, the plastic prizes have not hit their own yet. The most expensive one is this one, as well as the one with Sailor Jack and his dog Bingo depicted as a toy, a stand-up toy. And they only run around $15 to $20. Well, I guess the Joseph Stalin look-alike sea captain runs around $25.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Reflections in Time. We'd also like to thank the many people who made this program possible. Until next time, this is Bob Wells for Reflections in Time.
In the mirrors of my mind, along the corridors of time, I see reflections in time. As I stare into the mirror now, the past before comes clear. I see reflections in time. Reflections in time, an antique bottle. See reflections in time, an antique vase. Reflections in time, an antique music box. Reflections in time. As I stare into the past, I'm staring in the looking glass. I see reflections in time. As my time fades away, I'm staring at another day. I see reflections in time. Reflections in time, an antique doll. I see reflections in time, an antique chest. Reflections in time, an antique Cracker Jack. Reflections